Trev's Hockey Show. I'm the Trev. It's too sweet. Anyway, now that we have two more additions to the Stadium Series jersey collection, if you haven't checked them out right here. It's about that time where I have to update another one of my older videos from, the beginnings of Trev's Hockey Show. If you're unsure what I'm talking about, a month ago, give or take, we updated my rankings for the Winter Classic jerseys that have been released to this point. Well, we're doing the same for the Stadium Series. The original video is right here. And since this video was made in 2020, it is now 2025, there have been 10 jerseys that have come into this collection since I made that initial video, and well, that's good enough reason to update it, I would think. So, in my unbiased opinion, I'm going to re-rank all the Stadium Series jerseys that have been released up to this point, starting from the worst, in my opinion, to the best, in my opinion. So, let's talk about it. So a few things to remember when it comes to the Stadium Series jerseys is they're not really based on any tradition or any jerseys of the past for the most part. There's one or two that might have a root somewhere here and there, but for the most part, the Stadium Series jerseys are the think outside the box jerseys, and we can experiment with these jerseys. And some of them weren't always good experiments, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Secondly, I'm not resorting to the original source material, i.e. the video that I'm updating. Mostly because I don't want to know if many of my picks have gone up or have gone down, or if I've managed to let some actually grow on me. I don't want to know that. This is the updated ranking as it stands now. What was done is done. This is the now. So, having said that, we're going to start off with, in my mind, the worst of the Stadium Series jerseys. Feel free to give me your best to worst, your top 5, your favorite, whatever in the comments down below. I'd love to know if we agree to disagree in some places, but here's my pick for the absolute worst. Remember what I was saying? A lot of the jerseys are think outside the box, new and experimental. Jersey was the exception. They just gave us a throwback of their original jerseys that they wear on Heritage Nights, which most likely is St. Patrick's Day. Nothing new, nothing out of the box, nothing requiring a great attention to detail or imagination, just a throwback. That's what we get. Moving on. Now hear me out. I know the Flyers' gimmick, their claim to fame, is the amount of orange they use. And I can't pinpoint what it is exactly I don't like about this jersey, but I'm willing to narrow it down to the helmet combination mixed with the overdose of orange. But for whatever reason, I do not dig this Flyers jersey. Not one bit. They've done better, they've done worse, but this one's just bad. So if you remember in previous jersey reaction videos, probably even this one too, I really don't like when the team just puts their nickname or an abbreviation or their city name. I mean, some teams you expect it. That's how they grew up. That's how you grew up with them. But this just drives me batty up the wall. Bolts across the chest with a giant thunderbolt. Now, I get it. We're supposed to be experimental, but this is one of those instances where you just should have put the crayon down, slept on it, and come back with a better idea, because this idea is garbage. I don't like it. See previous statement. I mean, I dig the different tone of blue they're using, and it is the Rangers, so you expect some form of Rangers or New York. Those you can let slide, but giant blocky NYR. Again, see same reasoning as, the last jersey, and you'll get my exact opinion on this one. At this point, I'm just beginning to sound like a broken record. See previous statement. Again, nicknames, abbreviations, especially for this when you had how much possibilities that you could have done with some kind of a logo. But hey, I don't work for the NHL's art department, and I get it. This was Adidas's last year. They're phoning in designs at this point, but lack of imagination on this one. Maybe I'm the only one that sees it, but There could have been so much potential in this. They just didn't explore it. Again, sounded like a broken record. See previous statement on the last two jerseys. But I also think this one completely missed the mark in terms of what they could have done if they just used their imagination and not worried about putting words. Take Smashville out. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this when I reviewed this jersey. Take the Smashville out, enlarge that guitar pick. There's your logo. Boom. Would have sold. Guaranteed. Not like this. This is garbage. Can't stand it. Now, where to begin? There's a lot wrong with this jersey. Aside from the caps across the chest, your waistband is about 3/4, if not half. Well, it's not 3/4, but it's at least half the jersey. That's prime real estate you gave up to a waistband. Ugh. It pains me to say this about the Capitals because, I mean, come on, they're my number 2. But, yeah, no. This could have been so much better if they would have just used their imagination instead of this. So our newest addition to the Stadium Series jerseys, and again, that broken record, it just says Detroit. I get it, it's very influenced by the automotive industry, so that's why it's stylized like the way it is, but this is Detroit. Come on, I mean, they've given us better looking jerseys for outdoor games. I could think of the one that they wore in the 2009 Winter Classic. Something along those lines, again, would have been pretty sweet, but we got this. Oh well, you can't win them all, right? Might as well finish out the 2018 game. The saving grace to this one, and I think this is pretty neat, this probably was very intentional when they did it, is this is basically a counterpart to the Centennial Classic that the Leafs played in, which we'll probably be covering very soon. That one was plain blue with the white stripes. This one was white with the blue stripes. So the problem is everything on this one was white. The pants, the gloves. I mean, if they had the chance to tell their players to wear white skates, I'm sure they would have. But it made it hard to view things with this game, being that was all white. But man, it's got the counterpart ring to it, so that's its saving grace. Now hear me out. I get the game was at the Air Academy. I get the logo for the Stadium Series game is shaped much to this effect. But what the hair is this? There's how much vacant jersey space on this thing, and you just give us a Swift LA. Ugh. No, not thinking. It could have been so much better than instead of this, but I get it. You know, it's experimental, and it has to look like something. Unfortunately, this looks like crap. Might as well finish out that game while we're at it. And I thought over time this one would grow on me. It hasn't. I still don't understand why the top half of the jersey has to be the A and the bottom half has to be blank. You could have dropped that A down. Didn't have to be in the neckline. But yeah, I get it. Symmetry and being perfectly symmetrical in the middle. Yada yada. I understand the A is supposed to look like, you know, the mountains and whatever else, but I don't like it. It's something. I'm not sure what that something is. And not that I'm trying to pick on the Avalanche, putting them, you know, 2 in a row now. And I dig the fact that, you know, they tried making the shoulder patch work on this jersey, but for whatever reason, I mean, it's not the colors. The colors are nice, but for whatever reason, the shoulder patch as the primary on this one just did not work. In my mind, anyway. I mean, it's a cool jersey, don't get me wrong, but the logo, I mean, it could have been something different. That's just what I think, though. On the topic of this is something, you know what this one reminds me of? This reminds me of that Sabres jersey that they had where, you know, the back looked like a cape and the front was solid blue. That's what that reminds me of. More specifically just in the arm bar where it connects to the nameplate. If that wasn't there, I mean, That would look pretty sweet, but this just happened to be in the same year the Flyers were going through a jersey rebrand, so if this was a leftover design, I don't know what to think of it, but it's different, I'll give it that. I mean, it sticks to the Flyers aesthetic, obviously, but as far as the Flyers is concerned, it's a little different. I'm not sure if that different is bad or good. Now, while I was really happy to finally see the Weagle get some appreciation on a jersey like this, my only complaint, and this is really, I don't even know if it's a complaint, the Weagle's too big. If they would have shrunk it down and not worried about connecting into the sleeves where the blue meets with the number, that would have been okay. If it would have just been, you know, maybe a quarter and a bit less the size than it is, it would have been a perfect jersey. But I mean, the Weagle on it is cool enough. It's just too damn big. See, now this is something we come to expect from Detroit. That D in the middle. I mean, that wasn't the kind of D I was talking about. I mean, the one that they wore in the Winter Classic is definitely not as stylized as this, but that would have been perfect for the 2025 Red Wings jersey, but meh. The sash across the chest, though, I don't understand 100%. And maybe that's okay. Maybe I'm not supposed to understand it, but it's a nice Red Wings jersey. I'll give it that. It really is. Now, what I like about this Islanders set is the simplicity of it. The new NY for New York isn't circled. There's no Long Island shape. There's no Islanders across it. It's just NY. There's no puck. Nothing. Just simplistic. And the beauty of this is it became a third much later on. So the fact that it had relevance beyond this game was awesome. And it was a different design for the Islanders while keeping it looking like the Islanders. And it wasn't a bad look at all. I wish they would have did more with it. Now, while I don't think this one is a bad jersey at all, I think the pants being white was the biggest complaint I had. I mean, the number size was perfect. You could still see the name just perfectly. I mean, it didn't benefit from the chromey look that the 2014 game had, which I'm sure we will get to eventually. But it was just enough. And the two crowns on the neckline, that was awesome. I mean, why not brag when you have the chance, right? I mean, it's not that this is a bad jersey, not by any stretch of the imagination. They're just, I think, nicer jerseys before it. Now, something like this is how you make a New Jersey Devils outdoor game jersey. And this would have been something that would have been awesome to see in 2014. I mean, it has the right amount of black, which, you know, is obviously the Devils thing, black and red, but no green, no hint of it, no circle around the NJ. Just nice the way it is. Couldn't ask for a better look. For the Devils, anyway. Now, do you remember way back when they sold blackout jerseys, which was basically a team's jersey just black with like faint color or with opposite colors than what they normally have? This is what this reminds me of. I mean, my only real complaint is that from a distance, because there's no white in that penguin at all, it could just look like a giant blob of color put together if you're of an untrained eye and don't know what to look for. But other than that, this reminds me a lot of those blackout jerseys. So, it's not a bad design. Pittsburgh's had better designs, obviously, but it's not a bad design. And speaking to the effect of those blackout jerseys and how it looks like one, Carolina is really no exception. And I mean, the fact that they have everything kind of stylized in terms of like the auto racing that goes on in the Carolinas, that makes it awesome. And the fact that the patch on the pants is the correct storm flag for a hurricane, glad they got that right. My only complaint, again, is that helmet, but meh. That's what you have to expect going forward with Stadium Series games, is those giant stickers on the side of the helmet. Other than that, pretty sweet jersey. We haven't forgot the other 2014 jerseys. And really, thanks to the chromy blocky look that was involved in pretty much almost all the jerseys from the 2014 games, Pittsburgh really seemed to benefit from it. And that'll probably be the theme of a lot of the 2014 jerseys we still have to talk about, is how they benefited from the chromy and or the blocky look. And the fact that the colors just seem to match the right amount of chrome on this jersey, and the blocks and the waistline on the bottom, and even the half sleeves, those aren't all bad. And really, I mean, something like this should actually be considered for a lot of future designs when it comes to Stadium Series jerseys. Sticking with the 2014 games, and really, again, Anaheim was one of those teams that benefited a lot from the chromy look. The way it just pops that webbed foot D in there, it's perfect. That little OC patch on the side, nod to Orange County, gotta like that. And I mean, you can even get away with, the lines going up to the armpit and whatever else. That we can look past it. It's a nice look for the Ducks. I mean, I get it now, they're a little bit more mighty now, but if they could have reconsidered this or went with this for a full-time look while they were still rocking the webbed foot logo, that would have been pretty sick. Sticking with the 2014 games, and I think this is the only one that actually has an influence from a past jersey, whereas it looks vaguely familiar from the third jerseys that they wore from 1997 to 2007. But either way, it was another one of those. It benefited from the aesthetic they were going for, and because Chicago has just enough bars at the waistline for it to really fill out and look like a proper waistline instead of just chromed blocky lines, it looked really nice. And I mean, the Hawks head, the stitching alone with the chrome on it, in person, this logo just pops. But it's still a nice look for the Blackhawks. And so again, another one of those instances where the Kings benefited from the amount of chrome they used in this game, and it really pops in the crown. It really does. I mean, the blocky waistline alone, you can forgive that. Everything else seems to be right where it needs to be, as far as being a Kings jersey without actually saying it's a Kings jersey. But again, if it weren't for the chrome on the crown, I don't know this look would have worked as well as it did for it to be ranked as high as it is on my list anyway. But it's still a nice jersey. I like it. I'm not gonna lie, it's the teal. It's always been the teal when it comes to Sharks jerseys. It's just the teal works so well with everything when it comes to the Sharks, and this jersey's no exception. I mean, yeah, there's an awful lot of black going on in between the bottom half of the jersey and the pants, but it's okay, you can forgive it. And I mean, the Northern California patch they have up there, that was a thing of beauty. I really like that patch. I wish they would have worn it a lot more. But one of the nicer designs, I think, and it's totally because of the colors involved. So our second of the two newest designs, and I really had to think long and hard while I was writing this list for 4 times if I wanted to place it this high, and the answer is yes, because it is a completely different look for the Blue Jackets, and it looks good. It really does. I mean, I never would have thought the cannon being front and present would have made that much difference, but at the same time, I don't know if it's the cannon or the Ohio patch that does it in for me, but still a pretty sick look. I like it. Moving into the top 5, and of all the Penguins jerseys, this has to be one of their nicer ones. And the fact that it became a third after this game was still pretty sweet too. I mean, not a lot going on. I mean, the City of Champions patch, although some markets would be conflictive on that, it worked well with this one. And yeah, I mean, the triangle outside of the Penguin, it's a different approach, but you get used to it, and it's not a bad look without the triangle. I mean, there's just enough yellow to actually imagine the triangle being there. But pretty nice look. I'll give it that. So this is one of those instances where, in my mind, the team got it right. Like, they didn't go for anything completely overboard, completely showboatish, completely flashy, whatever else. It was simplistic, right down to the T. They just I added some vintage white, used the green and the red. I think that's forest green, and yeah, just made it work. I mean, the jersey is simple, the jersey is clean. It looks really good. So I think I'm justified in putting it at number 4. I might be the only one that thinks this, but Flyers jerseys really do look really good in black. And the fact that they are still wearing this jersey to this day as a 3rd jersey, that speaks volumes to the longevity of this design. And yeah, I wish this was a primary. I really do. I wish they would use black instead of orange full time. I'll even forgive the nameplate being orange on this one, just for the sake of, hey, bring this back for more than just as a 3rd. If they would have used this as their rebrand, I would have been okay with that. But yeah, I like this Flyers look, and it's purely because it's majority black, less orange. Yeah, I know, I'm kind of contradicting myself here when I'm putting the Rangers at number 2, despite the fact their jersey just says New York. But if you've grown up with the Rangers, and I'm pretty sure you have, you know, why else are you watching this if you haven't? It's always been New York or the Rangers across their chest. That's it. So I guess by exception, they get the pass. And the fact that they even add a pinstripe or 2 in there, that's pretty sweet. I mean, really not much to go on as far as chromie is concerned, but blocky, I mean, it's the right blocky this time. And it looks good. It really does. For the Rangers, anyway. So my favorite of all the Stadium Series jerseys that have been released to this date. And I don't think this one has changed. I think in the original ranking video, I had this one at number 1. And I think that, yeah, it's staying at number 1. This Blackhawks jersey is a thing of class. Oh, the collar alone. I'm in love with the collar more than I am the jersey. And the fact that, you know, the numbers are on the shoulders as opposed to in the elbows like normal. It's a little different, but it actually looks good. And yeah, this Blackhawks look, oh, it was beauty. I liked it. I still do. It's just too bad they can't win in any outdoor games. But that's neither here nor there. So let me know what you thought of this updated ranking. Feel free to give me your top 5, your first to worst, worst to first, even just your overall favorite of the Stadium Series jersey games. I'd love to hear it. It's another one of them Trev's hockey shows. I want to thank you for tuning in. Don't think I don't appreciate the gesture, especially if you've made it to this point. And if you have made it to this point, I think I'm entitled to that thumbs up. I mean, even just to let me know you're here, if you're just saying, hey, if you dig what I'm doing, give me that thumbs up. Trust me, it goes a long way. That red button that says subscribe all over it, come on. You know you want to. I know you want to. The algorithm knows you want to. And for everybody who's come along lately in the last couple days, thank you very much. I do appreciate it, and I'm glad you're here for the ride. We're shooting for 500 by the end of the year, so let's see if we can make that happen. If you want, that link in my description below, that'll take you to my Facebook page. I'd love to build an audience there, so feel free to join. It's free. So moving forward, as far as Stadium Series games, videos is concerned, well, I'm still writing 2 more right now. That'll be the 2016 Stadium Series games, but we'll get there when we get there either way. In the meantime, and in between time, be looking for more videos from the Trev. Later.